Afternoon, guys. Just wanted to do a quick update on the P34. I've been spending a bit more time on it over the past few days, so I'm at a point now where it's probably a good time to do an update. So I finally have the engine and gearbox attached to the chassis. Sorry. So just to give you a look there. Trying to get the camera to focus, of course. And look at the underside. So as you can tell, it's a fairly complex engine. It is pretty much as complicated as it looks. So this is probably the most challenging Tamiya kit that I've built so far. But at the same time, it's a nice kit. It's quite nicely detailed. It is going together pretty good. There is one mistake that I've made. I don't know if you'll notice it here or not. The lighting's not that good. Let's see. So you see on top there those two cooling ducts. One right here, one right here, one over here. Because of all the black, it's hard to tell, but one is further forward than the other. So somewhere along the lines, I must have misaligned this one here on this side. So I've had some minor interference from it so far, but it's been relatively minor. I'm just hoping that when I do the wheels, particularly, so we put some white under there, probably see it better. So I'm just hoping that when I put the wheels on, there isn't more interference there. If you watch my previous video on this build, I talked about these exhaust headers, how much trouble I had assembling those. As I mentioned, each pipe is a separate piece that goes into a collector, so I had a lot of trouble trying to get those aligned properly. Also, if you'll notice here, again, it's hard to see, you can see those two supports there, and you can see one of them actually goes through the exhaust. That one was a bit of a pain to get in there. The top ones weren't too bad. So anyways, that's where I am so far with the build. So that assembly there brings us up to about step 8. I did a quick count. There are about 78 parts to get to this part, to get to this stage in the build. It's about 78 parts. So that's more than some model kits, actually. I didn't realize the part count of this kit was so high. But I do like high parts counts kits, so I don't mind. So the next part of the build is doing the front suspension. So fair amount of work there as well, fair amount of detail painting. And here's the tree that holds some of the parts for that. A few more parts here. So you can see a lot of the parts are quite small, delicate. It's a stupid camera would focus. And we have, these are the main the main structural parts for the front suspension. So that's where I am with the P34. After the front suspension, then we start getting into the body stuff. I have these radiators assembled. Just need to paint those and weather them a little bit. And then finally the body goes onto the chassis. And then still quite a few more steps to go, but even though I mentioned 78 parts for the engine so far, there's still more engine assembly to do. So yeah, so that's where we are with the P34. I don't know if there's any, a lot of times in a build you'll get to a point and it should be quick from here on out. But I think this build is going to prove challenging right to the end. Like I said, a lot of small parts, a lot of complex assemblies, or at least I find them complex. Not to say everybody else will, but for myself, it has been a fairly challenging. Build, and I built a few Tamiya Formula One kits in the past, but none of them have pushed the button as much as this one has so far. So, anyways, guys, thanks for watching, and I hope you stay tuned for further updates.